Welcome back to another video, Rom. It's the end of the month, so it's time for another video in the new series that I started at the beginning of this year, where I talk about all the games that I played during that month. And you can give me suggestions on what games I should play, whether it be old or new, and I might check it out, which I did this month with one of the games that was recommended. Starting off with Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Now this game is I think it's a remake or like a remaster of the first game in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series, which was on the Game Boy. Game Boy Advance, I think. I'm not sure. I didn't play the original game. So it's a remake. I think it changes a few things about the game itself, but it also adds some new worlds that were not in the original game. And there's a bunch of post-game stuff that you can do as well. Expert modes, extra boss fights. So honestly, I think for the price, I think it was £40 here. So thank God they're not selling it for £60, because you know what Nintendo is like. I'm surprised that they didn't. But I think for £40 is actually a solid game. It's actually a solid game with enough content in it. The way it works is for the main story, until the credits at least, is you've got 8 worlds, 6 regular stages in each world, and then there's 2 special stages that are a little bit different. Each regular stage has its own mini Mario that you have to kind of traverse through the level to find. There's other collectibles around the level as well, and you are on a time limit, so you have to kind of figure out what you want to do, which buttons you want to activate to get to where you need to go. But there is a freeze time button, which allows you to kind of look around the whole level and just see what you want to do. Then after you save all of the mini Marios from the 6 stages, you play a special level where you have to guide all of the mini Marios that you just saved into the toy box. And there's collectibles in this level that spell out toy, like 3 letters around the map, but you can't collect them. You have to guide them to collect these things for you. And you have to just kind of play around with the map, activate certain things so that they can fit through or, you know, go up to the next level. They'll follow you regardless of which level that you're on as well. Then you've got the final stage of the world, which is a boss fight with Donkey Kong. And if you do it without getting hit, without taking any damage, you'll get the completion for that level. So it's a really fun game. And after you beat the 8 worlds, you get a bunch of expert content, extra bosses. I think some people might have missed out on this game, but in my opinion, it's definitely worth it. The next 2 games that I played this month, I'm not going to speak about until another video where I've actually finished both of them. They both released at the worst possible time. Granblue Fantasy Relink and Persona 3 Reload. Both huge, very long games, and they released a day after each other. I put like a decent amount of time into both of them, but I haven't finished both of them because I've been balancing my time between the 2. So whenever I finish them, whether it be next month or the month after, I'll talk about them then, because I can't really say much about them right now. All I'm doing in Persona 3 is either grinding Tartarus to prepare myself for the full moon events, and in Granblue, I'm just like unlocking constant new characters and just practicing with them and learning their moves and stuff. I think my entire party right now is actually completely brand new characters that you don't start the game with. So I'll come back to them whenever I finish them. There's a lot of games coming out, so it might be next month, it might be the month after. But the real game of February 2024, potential Game of the Year winner, right here. Now, I also can't speak about this one too much because this actually only came out yesterday. So yeah, I've not really got like too much time into it right now. But based on what I've played so far, just kind of doing some of the main story, a bunch of side content going around the world, and based on the reviews, this is one of the highest rated Final Fantasy games of all time. It's looking like what I've experienced so far is going to continue for the rest of the game, and this is probably going to be Game of the Year. The music is a 10 out of 10, the soundtrack. You can almost guarantee in every Final Fantasy game it's going to be a banger soundtrack. Even if the game itself is not that great, you're going to get a banging soundtrack regardless. But seriously, here, it just hits different. A lot of the renditions of original tracks are amazing. But that's all I've got to say about it right now. The game released yesterday, so I might talk about it a bit more in March. And that's all that I played in February. I didn't finish a lot of the games, whether because they're still brand new or they released right next to each other. I did beat some other games though that did not release this year, so let's move on to them. Starting with Bloodborne. Now, Bloodborne is a game that I've started, I think, twice before, and I gave up both times. I quit both playthroughs. But this month, I actually got to the end of it and finished it. Now, I think the reason I quit it a few years ago, I know I had a few trophies that I looked at from 2021, so it must have been 3 years ago when I quit the game. I think the reason I quit is because I honestly found it, like, a lot more difficult than any of the Dark Souls games and Elden Ring. Although then again, I would have quit before Elden Ring actually came out. I found it more difficult than the Dark Souls games, and I think I found the map layout very confusing. And I still think that it's more difficult than Souls games, and not only that, I still got confused. I was wandering around the Forbidden Woods, that piece of shit area, and Unseen Village. I was wandering around. I think the Unseen Village I got confused the most. I was just wandering around the same areas. But I actually got through it this time, and I think it's because I made use of extra things like runes. I beat a boss this time where I got access to runes that I could equip, which gave me like little bonuses. Blood gems, I got really good blood gems. I think actually in Unseen Village, was it Unseen Village? I think it was, where there's like a 20% blood gem damage increase that you can put on your weapon. So I definitely made use of all those things this time, and I think that made me find the game a lot easier. And also I used the Hunter's Axe. I tried the Sword Cleaver, I just didn't like it. Maybe it's a skill issue, it definitely is. But the Hunter's Axe, you can just spin to win, you can stagger enemies, you can just knock them over. But then again, last time I played the game back in 2021, I did use the Hunter's Axe, and that's when I quit the game. So I think the blood gems helped. I think just Elden Ring releasing and playing through that a bunch of times, playing more of the Souls games, I think it just all helped in general. But I actually beat the game this time, and I would rank it very high with the best Souls games. So I will need to replay the game, maybe for a series at some point this year on my second channel. Currently I'm playing through Dark Souls 1 on my second channel right now. But I might do another Bloodborne playthrough because I do have to get the other endings. If you're wondering which ending I got the one where you beat both bosses. I don't know if this is a spoiler for some people. The game is 10 years old at this point, nearly. But it was probably the most difficult boss in the game just because I suck at parrying in any game. In this game, you use the gun to parry. And it took a few tries. It took maybe 6 or 7 tries of learning how to parry each time. But once you get the hang of it and you kind of learn his attacks, it was actually a very satisfying boss fight. For some people, probably way too easy, you know, for the nutcases that just spend all their time in these games and are really good at them. For me, as just an average or below average player, it was actually a very fun fight to learn. I also beat Elden Ring again on a new character because, you know, there was all those rumors about the DLC releasing this month. And while we didn't get the DLC, we did get the announcement for the DLC, and it was announced for June the 21st. So I definitely did my replay quite a bit early, but I beat the game again. I did Magic for the first time. It was pretty fun. I know when you play Magic, people say, how can you have fun on Magic if you're just insta-killing the bosses? First of all, I wasn't. I was not insta-killing bosses in this game. They imagine the Comet spell and that you just use that on every boss. I tried that a few times. On most bosses, it's shit because they are moving. Like, you can't just stand there and blast that Comet spell on a boss because they move. The damage has been nerfed. I probably didn't have the best build, or the, you know, the very best damage increase talismans and whatnot because I just didn't have them. The funniest part though about the Souls fans that complain about Magic is that I've seen so many clips of strength users, strength and faith users. They have these gigantic hammers and ashes of war, and they're just demolishing bosses with heavy attacks. They'll complain about Magic and then be using a strength build mixed with faith and take out bosses in 2 heavy swings. But playing the game again didn't take too long. I remembered quite a bit about the locations themselves and the map. It was more so about finding things to increase my magic that I did not pay attention to the first few times that I played the game because I didn't play Magic. Aside from that, it was pretty good. The final boss, I do have a few thoughts about. I think Radagon is a very fun boss fight for the final boss, but the Elden Beast is just not it. I don't know, I just hate all of its attacks. It just pissed me off. It was more difficult than Radagon this time around for some reason, which I didn't remember it being. I always found it being the opposite way. I equipped the talisman that decreases the damage it can do with its laser spells and whatnot, but it didn't stop it from annoying the shit out of me. Overall, I'm excited for the DLC. Apparently it's going to be fucking huge, like a massive update to the game, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting pounded by bosses again, and just exploring all the new areas again, just more Elden Ring content. It's been over 2 years for this DLC. It's got to be huge, but it comes out in June, so we've got a while away until that releases. Next up, Crash Bandicoot 2, specifically the Platinum Relics. I did the first game in January. This game is much harder. It's taking a lot longer. No matter what anybody says, this game is more difficult than Crash 1 to get the Platinum Relics on. And I've not even got to the like overly difficult levels right now, the ones that people really complain about. I'm just talking about your average level is so much more strict with its times to get the Platinum Relic on. There's been a few very nice surprises where I've actually finished a level for the first time and ended up with the Platinum Relic, but they are so few and far between. And the game itself, I think it's really just because of the extra mechanics that the game gives you to increase your speed. So they've put more strict times knowing that people are going to be utilizing those abilities. If you suck at utilizing those abilities though, which I do because in my opinion, the levels don't line up for going that fast with those extra abilities, then you're gonna have a difficult time. achieving those platinum relics. Again, it's like with Crash 1, the game did not originally release with relics, but with that game, everyone is going the same pace. All you can do is run forward. In this game, you can slide jump, you can slide spin jump, all these various different things. And I just think the levels don't line up with that in mind, or with the speed shoes. So I'm still getting through these. I've got a few warp rooms left. And that's basically it. That is what I played this month. And another thing that took time away from those games this month is that I did spend probably a week and a half re-clearing the Omega Protocol in FF14. Just for more of those sexy weapons that you can get for clearing that fight. I mean, I already did it back in October, and it took me about a month back then, so I just had to touch up on it, relearn a few things that I'd forgotten about, or just de-rusted on it a little bit, and then spend a bit of time finishing the fight a few times, so I've got a few more of those weapons as well. But that being said, that is what I played this month for gaming. Let me know down below what you played this month and what I should play. Right now, though, I'm playing Rebirth. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Definitely subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you all in my next video.